6 times, 6 different incumbents, 0 second terms. Since Ekiti State elected its first governor in 1999, not a single sitting governor has been returned for a second term. Adeniyi Adebayo lost it, Segun Onye lost it, Kayode Fayemi, twice governor, lost re-election the first time. Peter Fayose, twice governor, the constitution barred him the second time, not the voters. Biodun Oyebanji is trying to be the first. Today, June 20, 2026, over 1 million Ekiti voters are deciding whether that 27-year pattern holds or breaks. While everyone is focusing on Oyebanji versus the opposition, nobody is asking the question that changes the entire analysis. Why has every Ekiti incumbent failed to win a second term? And is the structural reason for that pattern still in place today? Because if it is, the result of this election is more predictable than the APC thinks. And if it is not, what has changed tells you something important about where power in the Southwest is actually going. Stay with me. If you are new here, this channel exists for one reason: to give Southwest Nigeria the political analysis mainstream media won't. Hit subscribe and stay with me. This gets deeper. The 2026 Ekiti State Governorship election is being conducted today, June 20, 2026, an off-cycle poll scheduled independently of the 2027 general election cycle. Voting runs from 8:30 a.m. across 2,445 polling units in 177 wards across 16 local government areas. A total of 1,059,360 registered voters are eligible to participate. As of this production, the Ekiti State Police Command has imposed a vehicular movement restriction from midnight until 6 p.m. on election day. Polling unit security has been reinforced following an attack on the Isam police station in Oya local government area on the evening of June 19, in which 2 police officers were injured and the station was set ablaze by suspected assailants. Governor Biodun Oyebanji, 58, of the APC, has been in office since October 16, 2022. He holds a BSc in Political Science from Ondo State University and an MSc in International Relations and Strategic Studies from the University of Ibadan. Before his governorship, he served as Secretary to the Ekiti State Government and Chief of Staff to the Governor. He won the 2022 election with 187,057 votes, defeating former Governor Segun Onye of SDP with 82,211 and PDP's BC Kolawole with 67,457. His 2022 margin was comfortable. His 2026 margin, if he wins, will be watched very carefully for any narrowing, because any erosion of APC's Ekiti dominance is a data point for 2027. His running mate is Monisade Afuyi, 67, a princess from Ikere Ekiti, the state's second most populous town. Her inclusion on the ticket is a deliberate political signal to Ekiti South, where Ikere Ekiti sits, an acknowledgement of the zoning argument, even while the governorship candidate himself is from Ekiti Central. All 14 candidates. Tier 1, the credible challengers. ADC, Ambassador Oluwadare Patrick Bejide, Bejide, former diplomat from Ekiti South, the most discussed opposition challenger. Reportedly backed by former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and national ADC leadership. His candidacy carries the Ekiti South zoning argument. His challenge, ADC's National Deregistration Court order, still under appeal, creates institutional uncertainty around his platform even as he campaigns. PDP, Dr. Wole Oluyede, full name Oluyede Olumayokun Oluwole, from Ekiti South, medical doctor. The PDP's second credible challenger. The PDP brand in Ekiti has been damaged by post-2023 fragmentation, but Oluyede has grassroots structures across certain LGAs. His challenge, the PDP and ADC are splitting the anti-APC vote in Ekiti South, which is the mathematical problem for both of them. LP, Professor Oyebanji Ikusayedege Olajuyin, 67, academic. The Labour Party's bet on the obedient movement's residual energy in Ekiti. LP polled only 11,397 in Ekiti in the 2023 presidential election against APC's 201,494. Unless significantly mobilized youth vote shifts the terrain, LP faces an uphill challenge. Tier 2, credible presence, unlikely breakthrough. Accord, Oyemik Felege, 41, youth-oriented candidate, concentrated campaign in Ekiti North, reportedly relying on Osun Governor Adeleke's political goodwill, whose own Accord platform is under a court deregistration order that has not been resolved. NNPP, Blessing Abegunde, contesting as NNPP's candidate. NNPP has not demonstrated significant Ekiti State penetration since its 2023-23 national search. Tier 3, all other parties, completing the field of 14. AAC, Samuel Akande, also listed as Samuel Oluwasegun, African Action Congress. ADP, Oyemik Ajede, 42, Action Democratic Party, from Ekiti and Ekiti South. APM, Joseph Anafose, also listed as Olanreju Anafose, Allied People's Movement. APGA, Bidimi Awagudme, also listed as Olaita Awagudme, All Progressive Grand Alliance. PRP, Olaini Ayode, 49, also listed as Praise Ayode, People's Redemption Party, real estate developer from Ekiti and Ekiti South. YPP, Adeleo Sinkolu, Young Progressive Party. ZLP, Victor Adetunji, also listed as Damilo Adetunji, Zenith Labour Party. AA, Olu Omotoso, Action Alliance, added to the ballot by INEC's June 11 update. PDP, note, PDP was also added to the ballot by INEC's June 11 update list, bringing the total from the initial 12 to 14.
3 structural changes distinguish 2026 from Oyebanji's first-term victory. First, the opposition is more fragmented, not less. In 2022, there were 2 credible challengers, SDP and PDP. In 2026, there are at least 3 credible challengers, ADC, PDP, and LP, plus Accord as a 4th plausible vote splitter. Fragmented opposition mathematically advantages incumbency. Second, the ADC deregistration court order, even though under appeal, has created uncertainty around Bejide's platform that donors and organizers in the diaspora and nationally are managing carefully. Third, a peace accord was signed by candidates on May 21, 2026 in Ado-Ekiti, a signal that the campaign had become heated enough to require formal de-escalation before Election Day. INEC, conducting the election across 2,445 polling units with 1,059,360 registered voters on the roll. Ekiti State Police Command, vehicular movement restriction in force, personnel deployed to all polling units. Nigerian Army DSS, joint security operation monitoring the election. Civil society and election observers, domestic and international observers present. The Federal High Court, ADC deregistration case, and Court of Appeal, whose rulings directly affect the legal standing of the ADC platform on which Bejide is running. Nigeria's electoral law does not simply require a plurality of votes to win a governorship. Under Section 179 of the 1999 Constitution, a governorship candidate must 1. Win the highest number of votes and secure at least 25% of the votes cast in at least 2/3 of all local government areas in the state. Ekiti has 16 LGAs. 2/3 of 16 is approximately 10.67, meaning a candidate was to meet the 25% threshold in at least 11 of the 16 LGAs. If no candidate meets both conditions, the election proceeds to a supplementary election between the highest vote getter and the candidate who came second in terms of LGAs where the 25% threshold was met. This is not a hypothetical safeguard. It has been triggered in Nigerian governorship elections before. In a fragmented 14-candidate field, the distribution of votes across LGAs is as important as the total vote count. This LGA by LGA distribution is Oyebanji's structural strength. APC's grassroots penetration across all 16 LGAs, including its 2022 sweep, means it has the geographic spread to clear the 25% threshold in enough LGAs even if its total vote margin narrows. Any challenger needs both high total votes and geographic spread to win outright. None of the 14 challengers has demonstrated that combination.
Asiwaju Bola Tinubu's 2027 re-election project is a silent stakeholder in today's result. APC's performance in Ekiti in 2023 was exceptional. Tinubu swept all 16 LGAs with 201,494 votes, more than double Atiku's 89,554. The 2026 Ekiti governorship result will function as a preliminary data point for APC's 2027 Southwest performance. If the party's vote share narrows significantly today, that is a signal Tinubu's political team will read carefully. If APC maintains its 2022 dominance, it reinforces the Southwest as solid APC territory narrative heading into 2027. ADC national leadership and Atiku Abubakar have a specific stake in Bejide's performance today. A strong ADC showing in Ekiti, even a competitive second place, would be used to argue that the party's grassroots structures are intact and functional, despite the deregistration case, and would strengthen the political case for keeping the ADC as a viable platform through the appellate process. Now, if what I just told you surprises you, drop a comment below. I want to know what you think before we get to the part that changes everything. INEC and Tinubu's APC will read the Ekiti result as a midterm data point on economic governance. Ekiti voters are going to the polls under conditions of national economic hardship, naira devaluation, fuel price increases, and food inflation that have been consistent features of Nigerian economic life since the subsidy removal in 2023. If APC wins with a comparable margin to 2022, the party will argue that the Southwest electorate is separating its views on national economic policy from its support for APC state governance. If the margin narrows significantly, the opposite reading will be made. The absence of female governorship candidates in a state with APT's educational profile is not a political accident. It reflects the structure of Nigerian party primaries, delegate selection processes, financial requirements for obtaining party tickets, and the patronage networks through which candidates emerge. The fact that multiple women appear as running mates but none as the principal candidate in a 14-party field is a specific commentary on how far Southwest Nigerian political parties have and have not moved on women's executive leadership. For diaspora communities and younger voters who track these metrics, it is a data point about institutions institutional culture. The attack on Isan Police Station in Oye LGA on the evening of June 19, in which 2 officers were injured and the facility was set ablaze, is a direct pre-election security incident that INEC and the Ekiti Police Command are managing in real time. Whether this was a targeted election-related act of intimidation or a localized criminal event has not been established at this production date. What is established is that it occurred in one of the 16 LGAs where votes are being cast today, and that its proximity to election day creates a security atmosphere that can affect voter turnout in that LGA.
The EU Election Observation Mission that covered the 2023 Nigerian elections included specific recommendations on off-cycle governorship elections, on INEC logistics, on transparency of results collation, and on the use of BVAS, Bimodal Voter Accreditation System, technology. The Ekiti election is the first major Southwest governorship test of those recommendations in 2026. US and UK diplomatic missions will note the security incident of June 19 and will watch whether the day of election is conducted without violence and whether results are reported transparently through the IREV platform. The ADC deregistration case is also on international monitors' radar. If INEC has allowed a candidate to contest on a platform whose deregistration is under a court order, that procedural complexity will be noted in post-election observation reports, and it sets a precedent for how Nigerian electoral administration handles judicial uncertainty about party registration during active campaigns. Ekiti State has produced a disproportionately high number of Nigerian academics, doctors, and civil servants who are now living and working in the United Kingdom and the United States. In cities like London, Birmingham, Houston, and Washington, D.C., Ekiti communities are organized, educated, and politically engaged. They follow state governance outcomes closely because many have family members still in Ekiti, because they send remittances, and because they track whether the state's education system, historically one of its distinguishing assets, is being maintained. Ekiti's education budget, teacher deployment, and school infrastructure are issues the diaspora monitors. They are also watching how today's result interacts with the broader Southwest political picture, specifically whether the opposition's performance in Ekiti provides data that strengthens or weakens the case for a consolidated Southwest opposition force ahead of 2027. For Ekiti diaspora supporters of Bejide specifically, today's election takes place under a shadow that has international dimensions. The ADC national deregistration case, in which a federal high court has ordered INEC to deregister the party over the objection of INEC's own assessment, is being followed by Atiku Abubakar's internationally connected political network. If Bejide performs competitively despite the uncertainty around his platform, that result will be used in the international campaign to maintain pressure on the appellate courts to resolve the deregistration case quickly.
The most honest and complete case for Oyebanji's re-election is not built on incumbency alone. His first-term record, which his supporters cite, includes sustained investment in education, multiple school infrastructure projects, a strengthened Ekiti State health insurance scheme, and a tourism development push anchored around the Ikogosi warm spring and related heritage sites. He has governed without the corruption scandals that have dogged previous Ekiti administrations. He won cross-party endorsements, and the peace accord he participated in before the election suggests a leadership culture willing to engage political opponents through institutional processes rather than violence. The case for returning him is a case about stable, competent, non-spectacular governance, which, after years of Ekiti political turbulence, some voters may genuinely prefer. Misconceptions in public discourse. 1. This is simply APC versus the opposition. The 14-candidate field contains genuine variation in background, platform, and geographic base. Reducing the race to APC versus a generic opposition misses the Ekiti South zoning argument, the LP academic vote constituency, and the Accord Party's youth mobilization effort. 2. The 27-year pattern means Oyebanji must lose. The pattern reflects structural conditions, not a law of nature. If those structural conditions have changed, specifically, if the opposition is more fragmented in 2026 than in any previous cycle, the pattern may not hold. The pattern is an analytical starting point, not a prediction. 3. The ADC deregistration case means Bejide cannot validly contest. INEC placed Bejide on the ballot. The Court of Appeal stay means the deregistration order has not been implemented. Bejide is a lawful candidate today under the current legal position. Whether the ultimate appellate outcome affects any future Bejide candidacy is a separate question. The Southwest's strategic interest in today's Ekiti election is threefold. First, it is a test of whether APC's Southwest dominance is structurally durable or increasingly vulnerable to fragmented opposition challenges. A narrow APC win sends a different signal than a comfortable one. Second, it is a test of whether the Ekiti South zoning argument can be translated into actual electoral power.
which has implications for how other Southwest states manage their own rotation and equity conversations going into 2027. Third, it is a test of whether the ADC platform, under its current legal uncertainty, can remain a credible political vehicle in the Southwest. Bejide's performance today will feed directly into the political and legal arguments around the ADC deregistration appeal. These three tests are not about Ekiti alone. They are about the architecture of Southwest political competition in the 2 years before the most consequential Nigerian presidential election since 1999.
The long-term significance of today's Ekiti election is not primarily about Ekiti governance. It is about what the result teaches each party about its structural capacity in the Southwest. APC learns whether its grassroots organization remains dominant without a consolidating presidential campaign to drive turnout. The opposition learns whether fragmentation is its permanent structural problem or whether a more disciplined coalition strategy could produce competitive results in 2030. For the Southwest as a region, today is a data point in the ongoing question: is Southwest Nigeria APC's default home, or is that dominance contingent on the particular political conditions of the Buhari and Tinubu era? In 2030, with a new presidential landscape, that question will matter enormously. The answer begins to take shape today. We opened with a 27-year pattern. No Ekiti governor has won a second term since democracy returned in 1999. 6 elections, 6 incumbents, 0 re-elections. Today either extends that pattern or breaks it. But the more important question, the one this analysis has been building toward, is not whether Oyebanji wins or loses. It is what the structural conditions of this election tell us about the health of political competition in the Southwest. 14 candidates, 0 women. The Ekiti South zoning argument making a 27th-year appearance without resolution. An opposition field so fragmented that mathematical advantage flows automatically to incumbency. A peace accord signed before the election because the campaign had already become heated enough to require formal de-escalation. And a court order placing a deregistration cloud over the most credible opposition candidate's platform 5 days before Election Day. None of those details are about who wins today. All of them are about the conditions under which Ekiti's voters are being asked to choose. And those conditions, the structural ones, not the individual personalities, are what a serious Southwest political analysis channel has to hold in view, even as we watch the results come in. Drop your analysis in the comments. Do you think the 27-year pattern holds today, or is 2026 the year Ekiti history is made? And what does the result tell you about 2027? If this analysis gave you clarity, share it with one person who needs to understand what's really happening. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.